Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of the Curtis Robertson Show. Today the title is Don't Be Delusional. We're gonna be talking about delusions. Delusions, guys, delusions. Lots of delusional people out there. Indie wrestling has a lot of delusional people. A lot of delusional people in indie wrestling. And you've come across delusional people in your everyday life. Um, you've met them at work before. You've met them at a party, some other gathering. These people are in the wrestling locker rooms too. And these are the kind of people that'll tell you, everybody's met this person. Oh man, I would have made it to insert sport here. Right? I'd have been in the NFL or Major League Baseball or MLB, or I'd have been a great hockey player or a prize fighter or whatever if I didn't hurt my knee, or if I didn't my trick knee, my back, my shoulder, right? Everybody knows that guy that's got the stories, the glory stories. They're all Al Bundy, right? I scored 4 touchdowns in one game, and that's the story of their life, right? And indie wrestling is no different. There's a lot of guys like that in indie wrestling, and it really limits you. No matter what phase of life you're in, it really limits you if if you hold on to those delusions. Um, so the way that you hear that in the wrestling locker room is, oh man, if only the right person had seen me, I'd be on top. I've been in a lot of locker rooms where we're wrestling in front of 40, 50, 80 people, and then the guys are sitting around, and instead of watching the show that we're at and watching each other trying to get better, whatever, they're on their phone and they're watching, whatever's happening on the national promotion. They're watching WWE or AEW on their phone. There's Scott. Huh, I wouldn't have did it that way. They're using that guy all wrong. Meanwhile, that guy is making 6 or 7 figures. He's wrestling in front of people in the arena. He's wrestling in front of people um, on television, but they're sitting there critiquing the storylines of what's happening in the major national promotions instead of getting better at their thing. And that's I've heard that a ton, and it's really, sometimes it's funny. A lot of times, it's it's really disheartening. You'll hear the guys say, "Well, the politics are holding me back here at whatever promotion. I don't know the right people, and that's why I'm not getting a shot." Or I would have made it to the thing, but my car broke down that day. The the scout was there, and I didn't make it to the show, so they didn't see me, and that's why I'm still here with you, throwback, in this Legion Hall or National Guard Armory, whatever. Um, that other guy's friends with the promoter, and that's why he's getting the shot and I'm not. Never taking into account the fact that they get tired right away. They don't have professional gear. Um, they don't know any grappling, so when they're wrestling, it's hard to wrestle. Stuff like that. So don't be delusional. Don't be delusional as a wrestler. Don't be delusional as a person in general. And it'll serve you a lot better. You'll go a lot farther, because the way to correct a problem, the first thing that you have to do is you kind of have to know you have a problem. And the delusional folks don't know they have one. They can't admit it to themselves. They can't admit it to other people. So you can't ever get better at it if you don't know what's going on. It's very dangerous. It's very limiting. Um, it kind of saps the fun out of things. Um, so yeah, we're gonna talk about delusions and delusional wrestlers a little bit today. Again, I don't like to name names here. I try to protect the innocent. So it's one of those things. If you don't want to people to know who you are, just don't say anything. I'll see other folks make a post and say, "Well, this guy did this, that guy did that." They won't name the person, and then the person that did it will say, "Oh, that was me." Well, you don't have to. Like, it's not an exercise in trying to humiliate anybody. It's just we're just talking, we're having fun. I had a bunch of stuff written out here. I'm looking at my notes. I had a bunch of stuff written out here. Where we're gonna talk about all of this, like North Carolina, South Carolina, like indie fighting that's going on Facebook. But I'm not gonna get into it because there's no point. It's one of those things where everybody's kind of got their own opinion. They've got their minds made up. So you're not gonna move anybody's needle one way or the other. But overall, what I'll say is, if, if folks are chirping at you, don't even don't sell it. Don't acknowledge it at all because who cares? Look at who they are. I'll give you a George. I'll give you a George South story. I'll give you a couple of George South stories real quick. One of the things that he said to me that was actually really good advice is one day, when you're thinking about all this stuff, get out a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle, all right? And on the one side, write down the people that are saying negative things about you, that are knocking you. And on the other side, write down the folks that you have in your corner. Okay, so if you do that exercise and then see what the names are, and if you do that exercise, um, when you're done with it, if you which which room do you want to be in, right? Who do you want to be around? If if the one side's got you know people that are decent human beings and good workers, and they've made some money and have some notoriety, and on the other side you've got a bunch of near do wells and criminals and and never wases and folks that are just not pleasant people to be around at all. Well, then that's your answer. You don't have to go any farther than that. You don't have to spend any more time or energy thinking about it. So as I'm seeing some of this stuff, where there's people knocking Rob Killjoy, who's somebody that trains me down in Chester, Action Pack Wrestling, and there's people that are coming to his aid. You can you can do your own calculations on that one. I was gonna talk a lot about it, but there's no point. Everybody's got their own thing going on. I will say one thing that was weird. So somebody wrote an email to Cornette, just telling the story a little bit. So Rob had a match on AEW, and for folks that aren't into wrestling that are listening to this, I don't know who you are. Like maybe you're my friend from something like that. So AEW is one of the two major national wrestling promotions. You got WWE. You may remember back to WWF, WWE, and you've got AEW. Those are two major national promotions. They've got national distribution. They're on streaming. One's on Netflix, one's on Max, and they're on uh, cable television stations. One's on USA, one's on the Turner stations, right? So big money, big time productions where the folks are serious about putting on these arena shows, making this digital content, and making a bunch of money, right? So he was on there as an extra, and as an extra in wrestling, it's kind of like or enhancement talent or whatever. There's different names for it. Well, it's not even like an extra. So an extra is somebody that wouldn't have a speaking role. So this is kind of like if you're watching your favorite movie or TV show, and the detective is going to the hot dog stand, and the hot dog guy says, "Well, that'll be $3." Well, that was Rob's role in that. He had a speaking role, but it's not. He's just there to enhance the character that's on the show. In this case, it's a guy named Will Hobbs. So he goes and does his thing. Jim Cornette is a right now he's a podcaster and a media personality. He's been in wrestling for a long time. He's held pretty much every position in wrestling. I can't think of him being a full time referee ever, but that may be before my time as well. He started out as a photographer, coming to the matches, then he got into the business. He's been a manager, wrestler, promoter, announcer, a color commentator, whatever you can think of. He's done it, and he's done most of them with some success. Now we'll take a second there to pause and say, and a lot of success too. So there's back in the day you had WrestleMania, you saw WrestleMania, which is the biggest show, and the other biggest show was Starrcade, and he's one of the very few people to to be in the main event of both of those shows. So he knows what he's talking about. He knows his stuff. Everybody's got an opinion. Whatever. That's the background for that. But I will stop and say that every place he's worked at has ended poorly. So it's kind of like that guy Johnson, the receiver that just got he played for 4 teams this year. At one team, 2 teams, maybe stuff didn't work out. If it's every team that you go to, there's a problem. Then maybe the problem's with the man in the mirror. But whatever, neither here nor there. So his job, his function at this point is to operate his show. It's the biggest wrestling podcast in the world. I think it's a top 10 sports podcast in the world, the top 30 or 50 podcasts overall. He's got a lot of engagement, a lot of listenership, very successful. Kudos to him. Anyway, he watches this match, doesn't like it, doesn't like the act, says some very colorful things. It's a part of his routine there. It's entertaining, right? He's just not going to tell you, hey, I didn't like it. He's going to describe it in a colorful way to make you want to listen. Totally get that. But he's still giving his real opinion too. Not his cup of tea. That's fine. So the local guys in the area that don't get along with Rob for whatever reason decided to engage in this, and they were reposting it and sharing and laughing and having a good time, which is fine. Whatever, we're all talking. That's okay. I'm talking in this platform right now. Anybody can say whatever they want to say, right? No big deal. So that's going on, and then they're sniping at each other back and forth. That dies down. Somebody sends an email into Cornette's show, and then Cornette reads the email, and it starts all of this up again with everybody sniping back and forth. Whatever. I don't care about that. I do care about the lying in the email. That bothers me. If you want to knock Rob because you think he's a lousy wrestler, then go ahead. You're allowed to think whatever you want to. Sure, he won't lose any sleep over it, and you won't lose any sleep over what he thinks. So everybody's exactly where they should be. That's fine. But one of the things that they said was, he's a trainer at this school that doesn't emphasize fundamentals or physical conditioning. And now you're kind of knocking me, and that's pissing me off because I got nothing to do with this. I didn't get a payday for being on AEW, and I didn't make any of these stupid posts. So why am I getting knocked in this? What I'm trying to figure out. Because it's not true. And I think some people have said this online, but I want to say it here too. His warm-up, which is actually not the worst warm-up I've ever seen, but his warm-up is such that there are people that come to try and be a wrestler, and they don't make it through it. And we're not doing it power plant style 1990s where we're intentionally trying to run people off. But there's a certain level of conditioning that you have to do in order to be able to do this. It's a physical activity. It's a little bit tough. I'll say for myself personally, not to toot my own horn, but in part going to those classes and then doing some of those routines outside of those classes and other stuff as well, from the time that I was at my biggest and most unhealthy doing this, I'm down about 30 pounds. I'm moving faster than I have in a long time. My conditioning is pretty good. I just wrestled a guy the other day, last week. He's 22 years old. He looks phenomenal. About 45 seconds into the match, he was done. He couldn't breathe anymore. That was it. And there was still more to do. That's not happening to me. I'm like Mike Gundy. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not getting tired. That's a large part attributable to the program that I'm working in Chester for training. So that part kind of irritated me. Like, there's plenty of, if you don't like stuff, right, there's plenty of true things to not like. that you can say. You don't have to make stuff up. But I said I wasn't going to take that detour, but I did. So we're here now, and that's that. But now we're going to go back to talking about the delusional folks. I've seen it all types of things. I've seen and encountered delusional promoters, delusional wrestlers, all kinds. And you can usually spot them because they'll say weird things to you that no human being should say to any other human being. So I had one promoter one time, and what they would do sometimes. A lot of these guys are in like group chats, Facebook group chats, or text message threads or whatever that kind of devolve into whatever your group chat is with your friends, wherever you are. There where people are just sending memes back and forth, and you have to mute it because it's gone away from a place where you're getting important information, what time to show up, who are you fighting, what interviews are due when, stuff like that, into like, here's here's a joke, or here's my political meme of the day, or hey, did you see this other content, or here's somebody getting hurt somewhere, look, his leg's bending the wrong way, isn't that funny, ha ha. It all is, but I don't necessarily need to be in that with you. Whatever, that's fine. So, but then you'll get things where they'll send messages like, if you don't get your promos in on time, you're disrespecting the people that came before you and everything we've built. And they'll send this as a blanket message to everybody when they really mean to address one or two people, and they're not addressing them. They're doing a blanket address, and that's something that I can't stand that. Um, I try not to do it as a manager in my day to day life. I hated it when it happened to me in school. I hated it when it happened to me when I was working, where everybody in the room knows that Bill is the problem. Bill's not pulling his weight. But instead of the person responsible for this thing pulling Bill aside and saying, hey, Bill, knock it off, they give everybody an ear beating. For what? I don't like it, right? And then they do it with poor delivery too. Like, and then if you zoom out, if you zoom out, if you change the resolution, you're you're disrespecting everything we built, and everything we built is that we get 12 paid fans. Well, maybe that deserves a little bit of disrespect, right? Um, it's delusional. Other promoters, we're going to have a big time show at a remote location, and they've got the ring set up, and there's no ring skirts on the ring. Hey, what are you doing? Why won't you take this serious? Why can't you like make it look nice for people to come there, right? Yeah, so you'll see stuff like that. Um, you'll see guys. Um, so one person, this one guy, he's not working, right? And that's okay. He's quit work to wrestle. I'm gonna wrestle, and that's how I'm making a living. I love wrestling, right? Now, in my head, what I'm thinking is there's so many people in the two major promotions that we were talking about earlier, right? Maybe that's 300, 350 spots total, right? Across all of their brands that are making a livable wage of some type of guaranteed money doing this, right? So for the next couple of years, you're guaranteed to make at least as much. There's probably another 50 or 100 independent people that are not associated with one of those two organizations, but they travel around enough and do enough with um, their bookings, merchandise sales, that they're able to um, afford a comfortable lifestyle. The next tier down from there are people that keep a day job but they still make a pretty good go at it with merchandise and appearances, booking fees. Um, then you've got the folks where I'm at, where if I this was the only thing I did, I'd starve to death pretty quickly. But I'm not going negative, right? Um, I'm not. I'm not losing money on it. And then you got folks that lose money on it, where by the time they're done with their travel expenses and everything else, versus what they're being booked and selling merchandise for, then they're in the red. Okay. So the guy I'm talking about, in this case, the guy I have in my head here, I think he's either in my category or in category 5 or in the red. I'm not really sure, right? But one of those two for sure. Got a pretty good beat on it. I'm confident. If I had to lay money, if you put a gun to my head and said, "Hey, what do you think?" I would. I think I would make the right decision. Anyway, um, so he sold some merch one night. We're in the back. It's before showtime. Um, I'm changing, and people are trying to get his attention 3 or 4 times, and then finally he's like, "What?" Oh well, somebody bought one of your whatever 8x10s or whatever photographs, and they want you to sign it. Well, I'll do it later. He wasn't talking over a match or getting changed or nothing, right? Just didn't want to be bothered with the fan that paid their hard earned money to get some of his merch. That's delusional to me, right? I am doing this for my living. It's my life. I don't care about anything else, but I will not come sign your thing that you bought for me to that's putting money in my pocket. It's crazy. There's there's a there's a lot of folks like that. Don't be that way. You know, be realistic with yourself. Okay, don't lie. Like wrestlers have do a lot of lying, right? And I guess a part of it makes sense because the whole thing is like, you know, when you go to a magic show, you go see a magician. There's an agreement between the audience and the magician where, okay, this guy is going to try to trick me. He's lying to me, and I know he's lying to me, but I'm paying him to do it. It's going to be fun, right? And it's kind of the same thing with wrestling here. There's a little bit of magic going on for the audience, but then these guys start lying to each other, and that's where it gets crazy and then it gets dangerous. Where it's like, hey, do you know what this is and how to do it? Yeah, sure. Never done it before. Drop you on your head, paralyze you, or whatever. So stop doing that. Stop being delusional. Stop lying. It's gonna limit yourself. It's gonna limit other people. I know I'm talking like I'm a big veteran here. I got a lot of growing to do, a lot of work to do. But that's the difference between being delusional and being not delusional, being self-aware, and knowing that, hey, there's you know way better ways, way more ways to do this sort of thing than I'm doing right now. So there's something to learn in every contest. So that's not to say to be hard on yourself, right? You should be happy when you accomplish things, even small things that are good, but you shouldn't lie to yourself because that's going to hold you back. So stop doing that. Stop lying to yourself. Um, learn some holds. Get professional gear. Don't go to thinking about a different guy now, or maybe the same guy. I don't know. Where you know they're not working for the promotion that they're at that day. They bought a ticket to get in, and then they'll hold up a sign and say, for one of the wrestlers there, "Hey, fight me," or they'll start trying to make up a situation, an angle between themselves and the person that's wrestling at that show. But the other person doesn't know who they are. The promoter doesn't know who they are. This is not a sanctioned activity. I'm just trying to make up my own thing. I've got my own show going at your show. Crazy, crazy town. That's nuts. Don't do that. Insane. Um, Yeah, so that's it. That's what was on my mind this week. I don't have a lot else. Encourage you not to be delusional in your wrestling life, in your regular life. Um, don't do that this weekend on the 25th. I believe that's a Saturday. I'll be at HWA in Rutherford, North Carolina. So come check us out there. That's all I've got going on this week. Please, other housekeeping notes here about the show. Um, Last night, look, I think we had three whole listens to the first episode. Um, for those three folks, thank you for listening. Maybe share it next week. We can get that 3 to 6 for the love of God. Yeah, still working it out. If you have things that you're noticing for those three people or anybody else, that topics you'd like to hear, what's going well, what's going not well, let me know, and we'll try to deliver it for you. Thanks for listening this week. Again, we'll see you this weekend, HWA. We'll see you next Thursday at noon for episode 3. And until then, peace out.